I suppose I can't start without saying congratulations.
Oh, thanks,
Um,
man.
it's been a pretty fucked up year, but a
It's been
great year on
crazy.
a personal competitive level, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. It's been crazy.
Yeah.
It's been crazy.
We'll get to the competitions and stuff in a while, but are you a big coffee drinker?
I love coffee. I love coffee. I thought I should probably get one, but I already had like 3 cups this morning.
Whoa.
But I don't want to over caffeinate, you know. It's getting to that after it's 1 p.m. here. So I gotta get a good sleep tonight. If I drink too much coffee after noon, then I'm screwed.
Really?
Yeah. I can
God.
drink as much as I want before 10 a.m. and then after that, if I go afternoon, the only reason I'll have like a shot of espresso in the afternoon is if I'm feeling sluggish going into like a long stretch of coaching,
Oh
and I got
yeah.
to bring the energy for like 3-4 hours straight of coaching, and then I'll be like, okay, time for some espresso, let's go. But
After
other than that,
10 a.m., like that's a long window to like
yeah, I'll wake up
potentially be
pretty
affected by
early.
it.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, the further away I get from 10, the more it's going to affect me. But that's, I don't mind having a cup at 11 or whatever. But
Hmm.
the rule I strive for is get all my coffee in before 10.
Yeah, like I'm kind of at the stage now where I don't know if anything or everything is affecting sleep. Like we
Oh
had a
God, yeah.
baby like last Christmas,
Oh,
and it's
congrats,
like,
man.
yeah, thanks.
In December?
Yeah, actually on my birthday, same birthday as me, so that's kind of
No
funny.
way.
Um, but yeah, like thankfully we had well, I mean, it's shit that we had lockdown, but thankfully for us we had lockdown because we were essentially able to like pass the baby back and forth.
Yeah.
But like now I'm at the stage where I go on to Whoop and I'm like, oh, I'm in green. Like, why does this green feel like red?
Yeah, yeah.
It says I'm 84%, but I mean that's physically impossible. Like,
It's probably relative. You see
yeah,
you probably did you get the whoop while like the day after you got the
post,
baby?
yeah, it was
Yeah, so it's like your
post baby.
baseline is low. You're starting,
It's not gonna know what's happening when she starts sleeping regularly. It'd be like
exactly.
your recovery is 300%. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, exactly, exactly. But
but
yeah, is that your first?
yeah,
We
yeah.
had our first on January 15th.
Oh wow.
So right around the same time as you. So we were probably experiencing similar lifestyles in the early months of
Yeah,
2020.
yeah. I think yeah, it's a big adjustment.
Yeah, oh yeah, for
Like
sure.
I was talking to Sean Woodland before he had his kid, and I was like, do you find that people are in one they're either in one group or the other where they're like, your life is fucking over, man, like you have no idea what you get yourself in for, or else like, oh, it's amazing, like it's the best thing
Yeah,
that
yeah,
ever
yeah.
happened. Like I find I'm somewhere in the middle of that where it's
Yeah,
like if someone casually asks me, I'll be like, oh yeah, it's phenomenal, like it's God, there's so many rewarding moments. But then if somebody really gets into a conversation with me, I'll be halfway through the conversation realizing you haven't said anything positive in the last like
yeah, yeah,
10
that's
minutes.
right. That's right. That's why like the first couple months I always wanted to be I made a conscious effort to stay positive when people ask me because it's so easy like when you're getting
Yeah,
no sleep to be negative about it. It's like I don't want to be negative about my child,
yeah,
my first child, but dude, like the first workout back or me myself and my business partner, I'm sure Paul Tremblay.
mm.
So we both of his third and my first, they were born on the exact same day.
Oh wow.
And so we came back to the gym for our first workout. We did a class workout together, and it was, after a few nights of no sleep, it was like, few days after the baby was born. And oh man, that was wild.
Yeah,
How out of shape you feel just from sleep, because you're training up to that point,
yeah,
and then boom, like that, all of a sudden you like my son's name is John. John was born in the middle of the night, so you go that night without sleep. The whole next day you're not sleeping. The first night he's in on the earth, he's not sleeping. So
mm.
you go, a good 36 to 48 hours without like barely an hour.
Yeah.
And
But even
you
when you
go
do
try.
sleep, then it feels like like you literally conk and then like wake
Yeah,
up. You might wake up like 12 hours later, but it feels like it was like
yeah,
15 minutes. It's just
yeah,
like
yeah,
nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But that first workout was insane. Like I never felt so out of shape. I was like, wow, sleep is. And then I immediately started. I was like, think of like the Navy SEAL training and Hell Week
Oh,
and stuff. I was
Jesus.
like, I don't know if I could ever survive that. Like,
No.
I'd probably just pass out and they'd ship me off.
Yeah, you have to admire like Josh Bridges and those like
Yeah, the
it's
guys
like I
that,
couldn't fucking
yeah,
do it.
like their job, the
Yeah.
things that they do on such little sleep is wild.
Yeah. Like I found I was hyperly reliant on coffee for like I literally had to sit down and be like, okay, no, this isn't sustainable. I'm actually not drinking just water anymore. It's like, oh,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
constant just to keep myself running and be
yeah,
like, oh, I'll just make a call. I've got 5 minutes there. She's napping.
yeah,
I'll just
yeah.
make
It's just
coffee and then
it's gasoline at that point. Yeah,
yeah, then there comes a point where you have to kind of like either just go off the cliff altogether and wear like a suit of beans or
yeah,
like wean yourself off. So
yeah.
like I think if coffee affects you insofar as like you need it or you feel you need it to like, if there's a long coaching stint coming up, was there a point where you like had to kind of rein yourself back in through those
Oh,
tough days?
for sure. Every once in a while, I'll go. I mean, because you're always looking for like, especially if you're doing a shot of espresso in the evening for that, like a purpose like that. Um, like I'm not doing it for the taste. I love the taste of coffee,
Mm.
and I enjoy my espresso if I have one in the afternoon. But I'm not doing it for the taste. I'm doing it because I need some energy for the work for the
Yeah, yeah.
coaching, But so once in a while, you notice, like that didn't zap me the way I wanted it to. It's like, okay, that's my cue. I got to start pulling back a little bit, and then wean myself off. I'll go, a few days or a week, like limit myself to 1 or 2 cups, and then I mean I find it's a quick switch. Like you feel like crap for the first couple of days, but then it only takes about a week of like cutting your intake in half before you start to feel the effects of like a third cup again or whatever.
Yeah, like I've probably never gone a week, but I've had like days where I've ran out of nice coffee and I've been left with a choice of like, right, do you want instant or do you want nothing? And
Yes.
I'm like, okay, I'll just have nothing.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah,
I do that for a couple of days and then I definitely notice the taste more when I
yeah,
come back on it, but I'm not
yeah,
like fucking buzzed or anything. Maybe I need to leave it a bit longer. So it probably
yeah.
depends
Like
on.
even I don't even cut it out completely. I just go down to 1 cup. I'm just like, okay, I'll have the 1 cup when I wake up,
Yeah.
and then do that for a week, and then the next week after you get 2 cups, you're like, wow, I'm feeling that. I'm
I'm
really
gonna run
feeling
through
that.
that wall.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I love hearing about like guests, like coffee memories, like things they kind of range from like say Chris Hinshaw was like talking about a specific place he was in South Africa where the guy roasted his own beans, and then other people were just like, I remember having a coffee with such and such a person in such and such a place. Like, is there anything that springs to mind for you?
Oh man. I mean, I'm not a huge like in terms of travel. I don't
Surely
know if I've
Argentina.
I don't know if
There
I've
must have been some
associated.
nice
I don't know if
coffee in
I've.
Argentina, no?
Yeah, there's some good coffee in Argentina. I mean, I was probably having local stuff. I stayed away from when I was down there. I stayed away from going out at restaurants too much and stuff like that. I was staying with a good buddy of mine,
Was
Pablo.
that was that in
He's a
case like you got food poisoning or something like that?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah,
Yeah.
I just didn't want to take any chances.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is that it's when you're doing groceries and stuff, it's also a lot cheaper. So I mean, everything's pretty well priced down there regardless, but
Mm.
it takes it to another level when you're buying your own groceries. But I was staying with a friend of mine, Pablo, at his house and his family, and we would just every morning we just have breakfast, and then in the afternoon the competition hits, so we'd go over there and I'd have my lunch packed and stuff. So I didn't really get out too much. But you know what? To be honest, it's going to sound weird, but whenever I think of coffee, or when you bring that up, coffee memories, um, on seminar staff, at least up here in Canada and pretty much everywhere else I've gone to, Starbucks is the ritual.
Yeah.
Every Saturday and Sunday morning before we do the seminar, we go with the team, we get a Starbucks, and I just get a venti Americano, and we just crush Starbucks, and it's just a nice little ritual. that you have with the team beforehand. You know, it kind of relaxes everyone before we go out and do our seminar. So
It's hard to beat consistency as well. Like, you know exactly what you're going to get,
that's
no matter where you
exactly
are.
it.
Like,
I know. Starbucks. We were talking about that the other day actually, because my mentor and boss Jason, he went somewhere to he was traveling, and it was, I forget where he was, but you know, he was talking to some coffee experts, and they were analyzing Starbucks, and they were saying that, you know, exactly what you're saying. Starbucks is the most consistent coffee in the world. It's not the most expensive bean. It's not like the most well roasted. It's not going to be the most exotic taste, but every single time you go to Starbucks, you know exactly what you're going to get. It's consistent. It's
yeah.
consistently good. So I mean, Starbucks some people might gawk at it, but I like it. I think it's
I
good.
would, but you can see me, so I won't.
Yeah.
This is the end of the interview. I just hang
But I
up.
go,
But
like, we've got, you know, like I've got friends who travel down to, PEI every year, and they always come back with like some you know, local PEI roasted coffee beans and stuff for us, and they're big coffee drinkers, so
it
we
seems
get prepared for
there's a
them
lot of
too.
roasteries in Canada as well. Like, I know I had Adam Davison on, and he was talking about a roastery just around the corner from him, Victoria. And then I had
Yeah,
Greg from Montreal on, and he
yeah,
owns coffee company. Like, it seems to be pretty big
yeah.
business.
It's pretty. I mean, yeah, it's definitely. I'd say there's more. It's almost like these local like micro breweries that are popping
Yeah.
up literally everywhere. It's the same thing with coffee. Like we've got a couple local places in Ottawa, like Happy Goat Coffee Company. Like they're
Oh
doing
yeah.
their own roasting. They're really good. Um, there's Bridgehead Coffee, which is another local spot that they've been around for a little while, and they've got a roastery not far from here where I live. And you can go do the tour and stuff, and you see all the big vats where they got the beans in and
Oh yeah.
roasting everything. The place smells incredible when you go in. So yeah, so there's tons of good spots. And we were actually at our gym. One of my business partners, Reza, he's been talking for years, like, let's get a coffee company to partner with us, and, like, you know, put in a spot, put in like a bar in the lobby, you
Yeah.
know. And we were talking about that seriously a little bit more before the pandemic hit, and we locked down everything. And maybe when things start to loosen up a little bit and businesses get back on their feet, we'll revisit that. But because that would be
Yeah.
pretty cool. I think Davidson has something like that, right? He's
Yeah,
like,
he's like a vehement supporter of, like, he swears by it. He thinks it's like the perfect mix of like community, and then like giving people a reward, like either
yeah,
just before or just after a workout, that they're like, oh, like, and it's a nice smell and it's a nice
yeah,
conversation starter and all. Like, he swears by it, but he, like, he just spent so much money. Like he got lucky with the machine he bought, but
yeah.
I think he said it should have cost like $18,000 or something, and he got it
Oh my
for like just
God,
under half price because the place is going out of business. But I was
insane.
like, how did you, like, even at 9K, I was like, how did you swing that by, like,
That's why I want to bring someone, just like another company
yeah,
in, you
yeah,
know, and partner with them. Just be like, hey guys, like, let's, like, you know, let's split on the space here. We'll do some sort of profit sharing, and boom, there
yeah.
you go. You guys run the thing.
You can stay
That would
there as
be,
long as you want and just give us free coffees, not after
yeah,
10 a.m.
exactly. Give us free coffees, charge our members, boom.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Done. With podcast, then you've got your own series. Like, it's kind of, I don't know what you call it, YouTube videos or podcasts, or a mix of both.
it makes of
Um,
both. Yeah, it's the same. I mean, it's the same audio, but
yeah,
we film it because people like to sometimes watch the interview and see
yeah,
how
yeah.
people react,
How have you
especially.
found, like, doing that? Have you, like, you seem
That's
fairly
good,
relaxed
man.
now anyway.
That's Yeah. It's, I mean, like, sometimes I use that to just sort of fill the time when I'm in between things.
Yeah,
Like, I haven't done one in a little while. Obviously, you know, training for the games kind of took precedent the
yeah,
last couple months, and, you know, but before that, we hadn't done one for a little while because things were getting really busy with um, training and with seminar staff and all this. But then COVID hit and we locked down, and I was like, oh my God. And you know, we kind of brought the whole gym online, and we were trying to keep people engaged, um, through like all of our online forums and
Mm.
platforms. And so I was like, hey, we got to bring the podcast back. Like we got to keep people engaged with NCR. So for a string of weeks there, I think we did a podcast every day, and we got someone on every single day. And I have a bank of a few that I'd like to publish, but I'm gonna wait a little bit. What happened was the whole like explosion of CrossFit and Greg Glassman came,
Mm.
and I still hadn't posted these, and I was like, okay, I'm offline for a little while here. Like we gotta just
Yeah.
put those on the back burner, and I haven't looked at them yet. But yeah, it was just like kind of like you. I read an article that you had written. You just like having conversations with people and learning things, about different mindsets in the industry and such. And
Yeah.
so that's kind of the reason we do it too, is to not only highlight, someone that we know, who might have, an interesting background and might like bring value to other people's lives, but also like because we have a genuine interest in maybe some stuff that they haven't shared with the world. So we try to just interview them and maybe get some insights on coaching or training or whatever.
Yeah, I think it's nice. I like that. Like it kind of resonates with why I'm doing it, I suppose, as well. But like, I think you guys obviously have, like, you're coming from a position of authority in the world of fitness as well. Like obviously, like your seminar staff, you own your own gym. It's a big gym. Like there's a highly qualified coaching staff there. You've got like, you know, like demonstration team, like,
Yeah, 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 yeah. Demo
and
team. Yeah.
games athletes, and like
The demo team Hall of Famer.
yeah, yeah. He's a handsome bastard as well, isn't he? Like he's such a dick. Like do something for
Don't
the
tell
rest
him
of
that
us.
to his face.
Do you listen to podcasts then as well, or is it like a medium that you're interested in outside of doing it?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, yeah. I listen to podcasts. I wouldn't say that there's one specifically that I tend to gravitate towards exclusively. Like some people are religious with like one
Yeah,
podcast, like every episode they listen to that one. I'll bounce around to a bunch. I like to listen because also I like to listen to different interview like types of hosts. Like everyone's got a different interview style, right? So
mm.
I like to get that variety, and then and even that's what's so great about listening even to the same guest that might be on a bunch of different podcasts.
Yeah,
You're going to get different answers because people are asking different questions and
yeah,
so on and so forth. So that's the beauty of going around and testing out these different podcasts. I listen to I'll listen to like Julie Foucher's podcast once in a while. I've listened to a few of yours. I used to listen to Sevon on the CrossFit podcast.
mm.
I really liked his podcasts. Like obviously Joe Rogan outside the CrossFit world. Everyone's jumping in on his once in a while. And then, more science-based stuff from Peter Attia. I'll get into some of his stuff. Do you know Peter Attia?
No, it's just that went so far over my head.
Yeah, Peter Attia. He's an MD. He's a doctor, and he's into. Well, if you listen, do you listen to any of Joe Rogan's stuff?
Like he I'd be very with him. It'd be like, say Robert Downey Jr. was on it. I listen to
Yeah,
that
yeah,
because I
yeah.
like Marvel.
Yeah,
I
some of
wouldn't.
like yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Some of the like the Hollywood stars and stuff.
yeah. Or if there's
Yeah.
a specific person I'm interested in, like
Do you know who
like
Dr. Rhonda Patrick is?
no,
Okay, so there's just some Peter Attia is into basically taking the most up to date and um, current like scientific. It's not even advice yet because
yeah, yeah,
it's so new and fresh, and he basically dissects it in his podcast, and he himself tries to live that lifestyle where he's like on the tip of the spear in terms of cutting edge health and nutrition and so on and so
yeah,
forth. So he has some interesting stuff. Some of his stuff is way over my head because he'll have like a heart surgeon on and they'll start talking about cardiology, and I'm like, okay, this is not, I can't listen to that. But then he'll talk about fitness stuff, and he's into long distance swimming and running and all this kind of stuff. So
mm.
those are more interesting for me, and I'll usually tune into those. So yeah, so I've bounced around. I like all different
Yeah.
stuff.
If he's talking about cardiology, you can like dumb it down and tune into this one instead.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. My wife's a doctor, so I'll just throw it to her. I'll just be like, Jen, you listen to this. Yeah, give me the Coles notes later.
Have you found yourself like personally then with more attention on, say, like social media or interviews or things like this since like the games was announced that it was going ahead and stuff like that, like, or since Argentina even, have you felt yourself more like in the spotlight a bit?
Yeah, a little. I mean, people never used to ask me for interviews, and obviously, leading up to the games, some couple morning chalk up journalists, messaging, asking questions, and it's kind of cool. I like. I mean, I wouldn't say that I'm in the spotlight or anything.
Mm.
I never really considered myself to be someone who tries to like, you know, be an Instagram star or anything like that. But so I try, as much attention as I do try and grab, because I like to draw people to the things that I believe in and my
Mm.
gym and stuff. I want to draw attention to those things. I try not to be over the top with it, but definitely as the games started to get a little bit closer, people started messaging me, which is cool. Like I like stuff like this where I get to talk about my opinion on CrossFit, and I like I've got views about training and that I like to share with people. So it's been cool. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
been nice to be able to just talk to different people and share my opinion on and views on things.
Any negativity?
Oh no, not at all.
Really,
Not at
that's
all.
good.
I mean, some people, yeah, there's one girl who asked, like, the way that she was asking questions was making it seem like I would be pissed that the games aren't at Aromas.
Okay, yeah, I
You
get
know
you.
what I mean? And so she's kind of trying to dig in that
Yeah,
direction.
like, wanted a
Like, aren't you
narrative
mad?
of like,
Yeah, like, aren't you mad? Like, it's kind of sucks, don't you think? I'm like, well, actually, no, not really. Like, I don't know any difference because
yeah,
this is the first games I've ever competed at. And plus, I mean, I try to look, I'm an optimist. I try to look on the bright side of things.
yeah,
Like, it's a really unique situation, especially for everyone who watched it,
yeah,
like you're never gonna, I mean, unless the pandemic
yeah.
continues on and
Hopefully,
then we've got it. Yeah. And we've got another virtual games, like,
yeah,
this one and potentially the next one could be the only time ever where the games are going to be held at a box,
yeah,
so that's pretty fucking cool, man. Like,
yeah,
the community gets to come out and see it and stuff, and you're guaranteed to have your friends and family watch and support you. So
yeah.
I thought that was neat.
I think it depends. Like, I wouldn't classify myself as an interviewer or a reporter or anything like that. But like, I think it depends on the person as well. Like, I suppose how empathetic they are, how, like, I suppose that person was obviously after a specific thread that they wanted to pull at, and then that was going to be, the theme of their whole thing.
Exactly.
But like, say when I messaged, I think I was messaging someone the other day, and I was like, oh, like, congrats. Oh, it was Jeff. I was messaging him, and I was like, oh, congrats, like, on, you know, um, qualifying, whatever. And I typed like, sorry, it wasn't the games that, so like, sorry, it wasn't in Madison, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oh, does that sound like I'm detracting from what he's achieved? And I like deleted it because I was like,
Yeah.
that could be taken as like, oh, well, pity it wasn't the real thing. And like, that's not how I
Yeah.
meant it.
Yeah.
I
Exactly.
think it depends how, like, analytical, and I can be way too analytical with stuff. Like, it could take me an hour to write an email because I'm hemming and hawing over what to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think, yeah, it comes down to, I think that's like going back to what you said about the different interviews and stuff. Like, I'd always try and listen to someone else's interview on another show and be like, right, they're obviously asked about that a lot, so I
Mhm.
won't ask them that, or I'll the different way or whatever. Like, but yeah, I think that is the good thing about podcasts, is that it's quick to record, quick to release, so
Yep.
people can get a lot out there. So even if there's, like you say, if there's 10 of your episodes out there, like, maybe 3 of them sound the same and the rest of them are totally different. Like, it's like
Yes. Exactly.
that's like a
Exactly.
cool way of doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
No, for sure.
with sport, then, like, you grew up playing a lot of sport. I'm assuming, as a Canadian, that hockey was in there.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. That was my go-to. I grew up playing hockey,
Yeah.
and yeah, my entire life I played hockey. So I played at a decent level. Like, so many kids play hockey up here, right? So I got to junior B is the highest level that I played, which probably means nothing to you, but so let's put it into perspective here. So junior B
Like,
was,
semi-professional or
no,
amateur.
not, yeah, it's still amateur. Like, okay, so to put in perspective, a couple kids from that played junior B might continue on to like the NHL, but in my lifetime, I could probably count on one hand the number of kids that played junior B and went on to play in the NHL.
Okay.
The next stage up, like it would be, the next couple stages would be the main feeders to like universities and then NHL and pro hockey and stuff. So,
Sure.
super.
So you're at a similar. I think Tim Poulsen was at a similar level then, wasn't he? Wasn't he?
Actually, I haven't talked to Tim about hockey, but it's quite
Yeah, he
possible.
was. I think he was like just below the best amateur level or something. Like he was like just a
Okay,
rung
yeah, that
below.
sounds
Yeah,
very similar. Yeah, exactly. That
yeah.
sounds quite similar. So yeah, so I played hockey there in high school. Like high school, I played a bit of high school football. Played a few years of rugby. I was a big skier in the winter too. In high school, because when things get competitive with hockey, then it's hard to do anything else. So I loved skiing so much that I actually like alternated years, hockey and skiing.
Oh,
I would like one year I played hockey, the next year I would ski and not play hockey, and I would alternate.
what
And
kind
go
of
for
skiing was it?
downhill.
Okay.
Yeah, so around here, like we don't have mountains like on the west coast, but we've got some nice hills and some pretty high, high peaks in northeastern United States, and so. But we'd find a hill, we'd go up almost every single weekend, me and my buddies and the family and stuff. So that was always fun. Yeah. So, but got into running a little bit later, did a bit of distance running, and it's a bit of skateboarding when I was younger. I was an avid skateboarder, so I did anything that I could get my hands on. I was trying to do it.
And was it like a sporty, like an encouraging household growing up, or like was it just? Did you just enjoy doing it yourself?
Oh yeah, no, it was encouraging. My parents, anything we want to do. My
I need
parents,
to get you out of the house.
yeah, yeah, I have three siblings. I'm the oldest of four, so everyone was able to play sports. Maybe we were all allowed to pick like one extracurricular outside of school, where because those things tend to be a little more expensive. You got to go drive your kids around, night and day to make that happen, right? So with 4 kids, it's tough to do everything, but per season we were allowed to have one thing, and then in school we could do as many as we want, because usually the bus is taking us to our games and stuff, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, my sister was an avid swimmer. One of my sisters, she was a horseback rider. She did horseback riding. My brother played some football, and we both played lacrosse growing up. He wasn't a big hockey player, but he skied a lot as well. So yeah, we were a skiing family. That was the thing we kind of did together, was we'd all ski no matter what else we'd be doing. So
there's a lot of equipment in those sports. Like I'm just
just
thinking of like as a dad,
God.
I'm thinking about buying all the stuff. Like, I mean,
Oh man.
okay, even ignore the fact that there's a fucking horse needed. We look at like,
Well, yeah, but we didn't have the horse. The horse you rent, like it stays at the barn, and someone owns it, you rent it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that would have been something. If we had a horse in the backyard.
It's like you can pick one sport. It's like horse riding. Oh, for
horse riding. Damn it.
We should have put a stipulation in.
Yeah, exactly.
How did you find CrossFit then?
So CrossFit. So I was at university, and I was playing junior B hockey. And when I was playing hockey growing up, I was always like, I would get the Hustler Award. I was the hardest worker, right? But I was never the most talented. I had to work hard on my hockey skills to continue to move up the levels. And then, naturally, working out, I quickly became, at a young age, it became a part of my like training routine. It was to stay in shape for hockey. I wanted, I took pride in being the fittest on the team, and being able to sort of carry that through my career. And then at university, I was training one summer for hockey, and my neighbor was a firefighter, and him and the boys at the hall were like following CrossFit.com. This was back in this is 10 years ago. And he saw me in my garage gym. My dad had a garage gym. My dad worked out a lot, growing up, and so he walked over and he's like, "Hey, have you seen this thing? It's like, military guys do it. All the guys at the fire hall are into it. I think you like it. Check it out." So I was like, "Okay, I'll check it out." Go on .com. It's like it was the old site.
Like, you remember what the old site looked like?
No, I'm
Dude, it was
imagining basic.
so ugly. It was so ugly. It was like, it was,
It doesn't particularly wow you now when you go onto it. So it must have been like,
oh, no. This is like, this is what you see now is 100 times better than what it was. Yeah. And so anyway, the original site, it was just a blog. Like it was just a picture of the site is nothing but a blog.
oh, like
And
what WordPress like scroll. Yeah.
just a WordPress scroll, boom. And every time, it would just update workout of the day. And then there was like an archive you could go to and stuff, and a video archive. And so I'm trying to follow the workouts, and you don't know what the lingo means. You're like front squat 1 1 1 1 1. Okay, I think I could figure it out, but I'll do my best.
Yeah.
And then so the Wods come up. I teach myself how to do a hang power clean and whatnot. So a couple of years go by doing that, and I graduate university, and I'm still doing CrossFit a little bit. Finished my hockey career, but CrossFit was like, it wasn't my main routine, but I definitely took ideas from it. I was like, I love the idea of Navy SEAL training, military training, and the level of fitness that those guys achieved, and trying to apply that to the sports that I was doing. And that's what attracted me to CrossFit. And so, I become a personal trainer shortly after I graduated university, and I started training people. And my buddy who got me the job, he started getting into CrossFit like that same year, and he found a CrossFit gym in the city. I was like, "There's CrossFit gyms? Like, there's such thing as that?" Like, I've been following this website, man, but I didn't know that there's actual gyms. I thought it was still. He joined this gym, and he went to regionals on a team in 2013. And I was like, "There's competitions." Like, wow, my mind was just blown. Yeah,
You're still like front squat
yeah,
1 1 1 1.
yeah. No, that was in 2012. He did that. Yeah, and so my mind was completely blown. He showed me the videos of his competition, like regionals, and I was like, "Man, I got to do this. This is so cool." So I did. I was unaffiliated out of a bunch of different gyms, including the personal training one, and I did one in like Whistler. We went on a ski trip. I did an open workout there in 2013, and that was like my first taste. And then as soon as I did like super shitty in the open, I was like, wow, I need to join a CrossFit gym now. So went around the city, found the current gym that I'm now part owner of, joined first as a member, and then after a few years came on as an owner, and now that's it.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, there's an incredible growth there. Like, because like even the gym itself, like, say you've got like what 10 coaches, and they're all minimum level 2.
Yeah, we've got we've got a little bit of a flux of coaches. I mean, COVID messed everything up. We had a good
Yeah.
role there, and we were able to support having quite a few coaches just because we had a large schedule. But then, obviously with COVID, people, most of them were part-time. Myself, my 2 business partners, Reza and Paul, full-time. We had 1 other full-time coach, and then we had about 4 or 5 part-time who had.
And even like you 3, you work for seminar staff. You've
Yes.
like regional athletes, games athletes, you've like demonstration team. Like, it's a fairly, if you wanted to go somewhere that like at least on paper should know what they're doing, it's a pretty good place to go.
Well, I mean, we invest ourselves in it 24/7 from day one. It's just, I mean, it's funny when you talk about that stuff, and the resume at this point. I'm proud of it because that's kind of what we strived for from day one. And it wasn't like we were going out to put those things down on paper or to be able to have that stuff on our resume, but there were small things that we wanted to achieve, one thing at a time. And we knew that taking the next step would make our gym better, would make us better coaches, would make us better athletes. We've always been passionate about competing, and we've always been passionate about helping people. And so putting those 2 things together, naturally just pushing yourself to be a better athlete, and then trying to find the best way to do that. And then also trying to be the best coach that you can be, so that you can help the people in your gym, is just sort of, it just took us down the path that we're on right now.
And is there like, say, is there are those the fundamentals of the gym? Like, say, the core values, would they be it? Or like, is there different things that maybe have maybe come in and gone out as you've like gotten to the point where you are now? Like, say, as the gym, like, say, if you had what would you call it? There's a fucking word for it, where you have like your core set of beliefs written down, and then, oh man,
Yeah, well, I
basically,
mean, if I pull up our website, I don't know it off by heart. I probably shouldn't know it off by heart.
but like, has it changed loads?
It hasn't.
Or
No, it hasn't
no?
changed at all. Honestly, it
Yeah,
hasn't changed at all. From the day that I walked in that gym, um, for me, my mindset was, because I didn't understand. I didn't understand CrossFit. I was naive. I wanted to do CrossFit because I was excited about the competition aspects of it.
yeah,
Um, for my personal, like competitive release.
yeah,
I walked into the gym. I saw Paul. I was like, Paul, I want to go to regionals. Take me there, And he's like, you're an idiot. And then like from that day forward, like we were just training all the time. But as I was a personal trainer at another gym, and then I'm like, oh man, like I'm at these CrossFit classes, and I'm not just training. Like I'm not the only one benefiting from this, and I'm not. And there's tons of people here benefiting from this beyond just wanting to compete. Like people are getting results that I'm trying to get them do at the other gym, doing like bicep curls and leg extensions. Like
yeah,
I was a little bit more forward thinking than that. Like we were doing functional movements, but I wasn't doing CrossFit. And then as
yeah,
soon as I started implementing that into my program, then I saw the results. And so our values have always been to bring health and fitness to the community in the best way that we possibly can, and to walk the walk while we do it.
yeah,
So that's where for me and for the other guys, like I'm sure I can speak on behalf of them, is competing comes into play. Is like that's how we give ourselves goals to try to achieve the best fitness that we can achieve, so that when we turn to our clients and our members, and we're trying to encourage them and motivate them and inspire them to be the best versions of themselves, we can say we don't even need to say it, we're just doing it.
yeah.
Right? We're trying to be the best versions of ourselves, and hopefully that's just one piece of the puzzle, a little bit inspiring enough to add to everything else, the community, aspects of the gym and the coaching, so that they can try to just benefit from the program as much as we have.
Yeah, no, I like that. That's good. With competing then, so you've been to regionals a few times on a team and on your own, is that right?
Yeah, 2014 I went on a team, and then 2015, 2016 I went individually. 2017 I missed it by one spot, and then 2018 individual, and that was the last regionals. And then did a few sanctionals.
Like, are you a mourner of the regionals format? Are you like, bring it back?
And
or
cool. Like there's no doubt that regionals was epic. There's no doubt. But like I said before, I'm an optimist, and I choose to look forward. So yeah. It created great memories. But at the same time, I think that it's taken a little while to start to sort things out. But I think especially with Eric Rosa as CEO, and Dave is taking the reins on the CrossFit Games season. Already the Open is back in February. I'm looking forward to seeing what they have in store for the CrossFit for the season, for the game season. There's no doubt it's going to look more linear, similar to what it was. And I heard Dave speaking on a couple of podcasts that they're going to be more involved in the programming at these events. More, they're going to be supporting CrossFit Inc. will be supporting these sanctioned events much more than they were previously. So I have no doubt that it'll already start to look a lot more or feel a little more like regionals, with that unique flavor of the sanctioned events that only comes from being built from the ground up in those cities by the people that started them, whoever it is that's going to become the qualifying events for the games. It'll be really cool. It'll be really, really cool. And the one thing I really enjoyed with the sanctionals, and it's only because I qualified this way is that you could travel to
Yeah.
which one. So I'm curious to see. I'm curious to see what rules they come up with to limit or not limit athletes in terms of travel, right? Because they could very well still say like, you know, there's a sanctioned event in your area. If you qualify for it through the Open, then you have to attend that event, just like regionals, right? This is the
Yeah.
only way that you can qualify. Whereas, you know, like I was competing at regionals in the East. The East for a couple of years had Matt Fraser, Fellner
Yeah.
was in there, Alex Pino, Paul Trump. At one point, we had like 9 games athletes competing for 5 spots.
Mm.
And you know, I'm like new on the scene. I'm like, fuck, I feel like I'm good, but this is insane, you know.
Yeah.
And then I would compare my scores to, you know, like the South, you know, the South regional, and I'd be like, man, I could have qualified, you know,
Yeah.
for the game if I just lived in Texas.
Yeah, I think they'd be missing a trick though, because I think like the best part of sanctionals is like that community thing of like getting to see people, like say people who are interested in CrossFit in Argentina, having
Mhm.
you come down and win an event. Like if that's taken away from them, that's a bit of a kick in the teeth if they're only ever seeing like South Americans when they could
That's
probably
true.
would have
Yeah,
seen
that's
those in the
true.
past
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah. It's an advantage for exposure, that's for sure.
Yeah. Like last year then, so you made it the big show, you're on the floor in the Coliseums, music pumping, like fitness happening, your forearms are cramping, but it's from like counting reps as opposed to
Yeah,
doing
yeah,
anything
yeah.
yourself. Like what was it like being part of that kind of the big show?
Oh, it's cool, man. It's such a cool event. It's such a
Yeah.
cool event. Like that's, you know, this year, I always said, I was like, leading up to me qualifying for the games and stuff. I'm like, if I qualify for the games, I just want to go, and then, you know, if I don't qualify other years, I won't be mad. Like I made it once, and I'm going to focus on some other things in my life, you know, kid and all this stuff. But having experienced the competition floor at the Coliseum, and having not experienced it as an athlete, I'm
Mm.
hungry to go back and experience it, because to try to make it so that I can get to Madison and experience it there, because just being a judge, it's a cool feeling, man. Like the
Yeah.
production is insane. The lights, the music, the announcements, like the way the floor is laid out, like
Yeah.
it's freaking cool to be on a floor with, you know, multiple massive rogue rigs with these huge, you know, lanes, and
Those
I
little
mean,
guys with the hard hats.
when you're working, exactly, when you're working out, you don't really notice that stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, so I honestly think that the experience as an athlete, it's for sure a little different when you're there, but in terms of the workouts themselves and the performance itself, I don't think it made a huge difference for a lot of people this year.
Yeah.
But as a judge, like, you know, even I get a little nervous as a judge, right? I'm like, I don't want to fuck up when I'm out there.
Yeah, I was
Like
gonna ask, like
the
there must be
lights
a huge
the
amount of
lights are
pressure.
on you. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's I mean, because the pressure is to make the right call, right? It's
Yeah.
like you want to make sure that you're not messing things up for the athlete, because they're there to give their best performance, and you don't want to hinder that.
Yeah.
You know, so the pressure is kind of on you to allow them to give their best potential.
Yeah.
They don't do, you know, if they're no repping, then they're no repping. It's clear, right? So,
Yeah.
but if you make the wrong call, and that's tough. You know, I had that experience. I felt bad last year at I was the one who made the call that Brooke Wells stepped on the line
Yeah.
when she in the sprint run that basically knocked her out of the games. And I mean, she stepped on the line. There's no ands or buts about it.
Yeah.
But you know, let's hypothetically say that someone makes that call and it's wrong, right?
Mm.
Then that person's out of the games, and you made a mistake. So just in that sense, like,
Yeah, yeah.
there's
What was it? What was it like after? So I assume like so she steps in the line, you put your hand up to
yeah,
say there's been a fault or whatever, and
yeah.
then is it so like I know I was at the games last year, and I know that there was a lot of kind of hanging around where the race would finish and they'd be like totting up scores and times and comparing to like before they wrote it up on the board, because
Yeah,
it was a difficult one to manage, like from
yeah,
a logistics standpoint. But
yeah.
like, did you say to her like, "Oh, you stepped on the line there, sorry," or
Well,
did you say to the
she
head
made
judge, or
well, the directive was to just signal the fault. So the hand goes up, and then you just sit there and wait for the head judge to confirm. And basically, she was unhappy. Obviously,
Hmm.
you can't blame her because I think she misheard the brief, and it wasn't, according to her, she wasn't as focused on the line as she probably should have been. And so, for me, I just, the call happened, my hand went up, and then from there it was just a few confirmations, and boom, that's it, kind of deal.
yeah?
And yeah, yeah, it sucks, but that's
Is
the
it
way
is
it
it
goes, man.
but is it hard not to, because obviously you don't want to sound too apologetic, because like you're not really doing anything wrong,
Oh,
so
my job there is to just be like stone.
yeah.
Yeah, like I'm not, you know, I'm not there to like have a conversation with the athletes. I'm there to make the call from what I see in front of me. And if there's anything that they want to appeal, then they're always welcome to do that. And I'm not sure if she ended up appealing that, but there's, every event, every CrossFit Games, there's a handful of appeals that go through.
Mm,
And it's not the job of the judge on the floor to have that conversation with the athlete right there. They make the call, it goes through, the appeal is made, and then the head judge and has conversations with the athlete or whatever needs to happen
mm.
to sort of clear it up, maybe some video review and stuff like that. Um, so
Have you spoken to her since?
no, 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 we're not. I mean, like, I don't really know her.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
not close
I
or
want.
anything.
I was thinking that. I was like, I didn't realize that was you, and I was thinking that just as you were saying, I was like, I wonder was she like reading the morning chalk up thing about like Pete Shaw has gone from judge to, and be like, that's the fucking
Yeah.
guy.
I hope she doesn't hate me. I was just doing my job. I mean,
No,
you know,
I think to be fair, I think like a lot of people like her and Vellner and Fikowski like didn't come across particularly well, like in say the Buttery Bros documentary and stuff, with their like reactions to it. But like even having spoken to Pat, like the benefit of time, like it's a great healer, and I think it gives a lot of kind of like, you know,
yes,
like he kind of said like, look, I don't regret what I said, like my feelings towards it, I don't regret it, but I do regret how I said it, and like, the
yeah, yeah.
way it came across
I
and
mean,
stuff. So
yeah.
I'd say I'm sure she's the same. I'd say if you ask, I'm sure she regrets getting pissed off at the time, but it's understandable, like you say,
I
like,
mean, when there's so much adrenaline going on in those events. The only thing you're focused on is winning, and when it
mm.
doesn't go your way, like you can't help but be emotional about it.
Yeah, there'd be
Um,
something wrong if you're just like, oh, cool, well, thanks for
yeah,
having me.
exactly. And so yeah, and so all the snapshots of those guys in the documentary and stuff, like they're taking those shots at their most vulnerable moments,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
they have no control over what they're saying. Basically, like all the energy and the adrenaline, and then words are just coming out of their mouth with no
yeah.
filter. So it's yeah.
Why Argentina then? Why the South Fit?
That's a funny story. So a coworker of mine, Pablo, who's a flow master on seminar staff, is Argentinian. He's from Argentina, and we were at the seminar staff summit. We were every year, every couple of years, there's a summit where we get together for some training exercises and gets the whole group together just as a unit, and we do some development stuff and have some drinks together, and it's great. Pablo goes to me, Pete, you should come down to Argentina. There's an event that they're going to turn into a sanctioned event. And I was like, fuck off, Pablo. I'm not going to fly to Argentina. Like, it's like a 24-hour flight. I'm not going. I'm not doing that. But he kept on bugging me about it. He's like, you should go. You should go. And meanwhile, I'm looking to obviously qualify, and I'm trying to find the best sanction event for me. I'm a strong and traditionally I'm an endurance athlete. I'm a strong runner. I'm strong at swimming. So a swimming event, I was looking for, sanctioned events like Miami, They've got, Wadapalooza's got swimming
Mm.
events traditionally. And I did the international online qualifier because there's a handful that
Mm.
you qualified through that. I was like, okay, I'll cast a large net here and I'll decide later based on what I qualified for. And Argentina was one of them. They were in that group. And I was like, okay, well, um, I knew Ham Plan, run by James Hobart,
Mm.
Austin Malialo, Spencer Hendel. Those guys were programming it. So I knew the programming would be fair. I knew it would be, traditional CrossFit style workouts. These guys have been in the game for a long time, and they have a sort of no fluff mentality. There wouldn't be like crazy weird implements.
Mm.
It would just be, straight up CrossFit. And I knew that traditionally Argentina held a swimming event, so I was like, okay, I think this is my shot. So I called up Pablo and I was like, Pablo, I think I might come to Argentina, man. Get a place for me to stay. And that was basically it. He's like, yeah, let's do it. So I went down there, stayed at Pablo's house for the week. We had another friend of mine who's on seminar staff. She qualified for the female side as well. We both went down, stayed with him, and that was it, man. I was just like, my wife was pregnant at the time, and I went down with the mentality of like, I got to make this happen because it might not get another chance. Like, let's do this. And I was, for the most part, I was alone. I had one support staff with me and a buddy of mine, and just went to town. Yeah, I was just very focused, and that's why I chose it. He suggested it,
Yeah.
and at first it was kind of a joke, and then it turned into like reality.
I think like having spoken to, say, a couple of like Adam and Joshua Shammer were both in like Brazil, and they were like, it's fucking fever pitch down there, like insane, like excitement. Was it similar in Argentina?
It's crazy. Yeah. You know what? It gives me a similar feeling to the early days of regionals when it was back to like Canada East regionals in Toronto. Like just Canada East in Toronto. It was a small venue. It was held in a convention center, and they had like the grandstands that popped out. And similar to what they did in California. They used to do that in California, Del Mar, when they held the regionals there. And it was just like a much smaller, it wasn't in a giant arena. And I remember all the Quebecois guys would come down and support the Montrealers and the guys from Quebec City, the CrossFitters there. And the French CrossFitters are crazy. Like they got some, like they're so good. They're so good, like Jeff Adler, because they've got a bit of a screw loose. And I can say that because I have a lot of friends from Montreal, and they're all great CrossFitters, and male and female. And they just, like, when it's time to go, like there's no off switch, and it's the same with the fans. And the fans come, and from start to finish, the whole competition, there's no off switch. And I had that same feeling when I was in Argentina. I was like, man, these guys and girls are just crazy for CrossFit. And the competitors were so into it, and everyone, the celebrations, after the events, and everyone's just having a great time. Super, super friendly. Everyone's very friendly there. But like, it was great. Like the place was not by any means filled with bodies. It was a large stadium, and there was space between the seats and stuff, but it felt like it was a large stadium, or it felt like it was full. Excuse me. Like when you finish an event, and at the end there's everyone at the finish line, and you felt like you were in a 50,000 person stadium, and it was packed.
Yeah, well, good man, Pablo, for suggesting that. I know it worked out pretty good.
Yeah, he was.
I'm sure he didn't say "I told you so" afterwards.
No, dude, he was. It was just he was so happy at the end. He was like, man, like, can you believe this started out as a joke? Dude, I can't believe it. Yeah.
Obviously, like, you were no slouch. Like, you've mentioned regionals and stuff. And like, you kind of, I guess you were like circling for a while, like, of, almost there, and then making regionals and almost making regionals. And you were kind of dipping in and out. Like, I'm curious, like, was there a big shift in priorities this year to make it happen, or was it like kind of minor tweaks and like a little change of focus maybe?
It was It was, honestly, it was it was a very consistent build, very consistent build. The thing is, I mean, I'm not going to win the CrossFit Games,
Mm.
this next year. Like, it's, I'm 31 years old in a couple of weeks. I'm getting to the old, my training age is starting to be on the higher end here when
You
it
got
comes
that
up.
dad strength coming though.
Yeah, exactly. I know. Hopefully, because my front squat was on the lower end, but it's been a slow build. And like I always told myself, going through regionals each year, like as long as I continue to, as long as I continue to just be a little bit better every single year, then I would continue to be motivated to train for the year after. Now the exception was the year I didn't make it to regionals. I didn't make it by one spot. I did take a small break off training, but um, the biggest difference maker there was, I think the year before or that year, I decided to get my business partner Reza to just coach me. So I didn't
Yeah.
have a coach. I was just training on a whim, making up my own stuff. And as most people know, it's really hard to train your weaknesses effectively without someone telling you what to do. Like
Mm.
you just in the back of your mind, no matter how much you want to train your weaknesses, and you say you do, and you're honestly like trying to put a good effort into making a workout or a program that develops the shit that you hate to do, you're always going to let up on the gas a bit there. Like if you have
Yeah.
someone else programming it for you, they're going to make stuff that's just miserable, which at the end of the day, if you want to be really good at CrossFit, you have to do that stuff. You got to do the stuff that really sucks because you hate it because you're not good at it. Right.
Yeah.
And so that was the biggest difference maker, but there was and so I've had him as a coach for the last few years, just 4 to 5 years. And, it's just been a slow grind. I've never had like a massive spike in fitness. It's always been just
Mm.
like, small PRs here and there, gradually increasing my fitness level over time. And I think it's just being smart with the programming. Like the longer you're with a coach and the longer you stick to a specific program, then the more value you're going to get back from it, because you put in all this work. Look at all the data you
Yeah.
have now on what makes you successful and what doesn't. Right. So I'm following the same program. I don't make it to regionals. I now have a whole slew of data that tells me this type of training doesn't work for me. Okay,
Mm.
now let's scrap that and let's move on to something that works. And then, the slow chug. And I think also the combination of, like I told you before, like I'm a type of athlete that does a lot better with longer duration workouts. I'm a little bit more of an endurance guy. Like the workouts in Argentina tended to be a little bit on the longer side. There weren't tons of short sprints, and swimming is a big one for me. So I mean, you never saw swimming at regionals. That's something
Mm.
I would have loved to. Maybe I would have been in the top 5 sooner if there was a swimming pool in one of the arenas. But that was part of a motivating factor for me too. Is like, which does make this year slightly disappointing. Is like I was always excited to go for the games because I wanted to take part in those outdoors events.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I think I could do really well at these events. There's sort of my traditional background of training. Um,
Yeah,
you
man.
know,
If they erected a ski slope, you were
I want to
sorted.
show that stuff off. Yeah, exactly. Well, I grew up the swimming stuff. Like I was a lifeguard growing up. Like
Yeah.
I coached some minor swim teams, and I grew up on the river. So I would train a lot. I just enjoyed swimming.
Yeah.
It's like I like just sticking my head in the water and not hearing anything but the water. And I would just go out early in the morning in the river. And I'd just swim laps back and forth for an hour. So not having that
Yeah.
this year for me was a little disappointing. So that's kind of also motivating me to go back
Yeah.
next year if I can. But yeah. So
With sanctionals being like cancelled all over the place or postponed and then cancelled, and the games was off on, well, I guess as far as Castro was concerned, it was never off. But I think
yeah,
even just speaking personally, I was like, I mean, it's going to be cancelled eventually. Like you were
I
just kind of
know.
waiting for confirmation.
Yeah.
Was it hard then? Like, did you just kind of say like, I'm going to assume it's going to be on at some point, or did you kind of pump the brakes a little bit, like, because it's difficult, I guess, you're just going to end up peaking over and over again, trying to get the timing right to be ready, or else you're going to not peak at all. Like, was it hard to kind of manage that mentally?
It was hard. Yeah, it was hard. During lockdown, for us, we were in lockdown. That's when they announced that the games were for sure happening. And so, I called up Reza, my coach, and I was like, Reza, like, it's happening, man. We got to go. He's like, you sure? Like, are you sure it's going to happen? And you think, okay, we should do this. So we started training, and I was at home in the basement. Up until that point, it was basically just dealing with lockdown. I wasn't really training as hard as I could. I was more training to keep our affiliate alive. Training with people in the virtual classes and stuff, and doing a lot of at-home workouts with limited equipment. But I wasn't even going to the gym for a couple months. I was staying at home. And so when the games were announced, it was like, okay, there's some stuff I could do at home. I've got a squat rack. Like, let's start to slowly ramp this up. And when it comes time, I'll go back to the gym regardless of whether we're open. And they started to announce more details. Okay, it's going to be at Aromas. All right, we're going to be, this is going to be a full-fledged event. Okay. So I started putting in a lot of training with the things that we were just talking about, the hill climbs, the odd object, the swimming, all that stuff. And then they had a specific date for it. It was going to be August, the first weekend of August. And then they pushed it. And then it's like, okay, let's reevaluate that. Okay, I can push for another 2 weeks. Let's keep going full throttle. Then they delayed it again. Okay, all right, I don't think I can go for 4 weeks. Let's pull back a little bit, and then we'll go. So it was kind of like that the entire time. It was like every time they would announce a new date for the games, you had to evaluate where you were at when you're training, whether you could just sort of stay the course and continue the push. Without overtraining and coming down, right? You don't want to come on the other side of that peak and screw yourself. And then making the decision like, okay, do I dial back now? And then what are the things we need to work on in case the game does happen? We've got a week of hard training, let's say. These are the things we have to hit. So, dude, I think I peaked like 3 times into the games here. And, when they announced it was indoors, it was like, okay, shit, now I need to start, and let's get rid of all the hill training that I just did. Yeah. And let's just focus on classic CrossFit stuff, which is still fun. And you're doing that the whole time. But it's just, for me, most of the year, I'm not hill training, and I was doing a lot of it leading into what I thought would be an Aromas games. So just a little bit different. I remember my quads, man, like one of my weaknesses is just squatting in general. Like, squatting's hard for me, like heavy squats. I'm not the best. Fast squatting, pistols, whatever. I'm squatting like crazy. And then to add in the hill training on the descents, I was getting like, that eccentric loading, man, was crazy. It was lighting up my hip flexors, and my IT band was so tight from my glutes and stuff. I for like a week straight, I couldn't sleep. My quads were hurting so badly. And so this was just like at the point where I was trying to decide, like, do I keep going? Do I dial it back? So I upped the manual therapy, like went to the physiotherapist a few times to try and keep the recovery going. No, it was an interesting, that you learn a lot about yourself when you're trying to toe the line between like overtraining and peaking. So it's cool.
Like the weekend itself, then, like, obviously, I suppose you knew what equipment you needed, and you knew, like, I suppose it's probably hard not to try and start guessing stuff. Like, it's hard not to, when they kind of dangle a bit of information in front of you, and you had those athletes calls and stuff where you're kind of like, okay, well, I need a GHD. God, why would I need a GHD? It must be hard not to over-examine it. Like, no,
you for sure start to over-examine it, but that's why Rez is so great. I would text Rez. I'm like, yo, Rez, like, what the hell could it be, man? There's no rings. Like, what are we gonna, tomorrow I gotta do bar muscle ups. For sure there's gonna be bar muscle ups. Like, and he's like, no, stop thinking about it. Like, we're just gonna continue on the same course. It's funny. In the last couple of months, I've done versions of all these workouts. I've done these training. Like, Dave Castro is he's unpredictable, but at the same time, he's a little predictable. Like
Yeah.
he
Like
likes
I was
cross.
gonna say, because like say obviously like you and Paul would have more of an insight, maybe, or definitely Paul anyway would have more of an insight into maybe how he might be thinking, or like
Yeah, I mean,
understanding the way his brain works. Like, you know,
yeah,
like were you, say, even when he put out his clues and stuff, were you
yeah.
like, oh shit, okay, I've done this, this, and this, and it's going to be some kind of variation, or
Those clues are so out over the top. Like I could not get anything from those clues. Like it's just like I don't know. Like it's one of them's like a picture of water. It's like what are you supposed to get from that? But
but say
um,
say even with the games though, when he puts up
oh yeah, yeah.
the names or the structure of the
That's right.
weekend,
That's right.
but
That's right.
I guess for you it's like it's too little too late at that point, even if, you know, if you've
Yeah.
got 2 days, you're not going to suddenly start hammering out Fran in some
No,
weird.
exactly, exactly. Yeah, yeah. But leading into it, it's just what I mean by predictable is that Dave's the longest standing CrossFit employee. He's been there since the
Mhm.
beginning, and he believes in the CrossFit methodology and its core values, and he likes history, and he likes staying true to those classic CrossFit workouts that are the most effective in creating fitness and testing fitness. So,
Mm.
the benchmark workouts were created for a reason, because they're not only are they great at making fitness, but they're great at testing your fitness in different time domains, modalities. They've got great combinations. The intensity is very high. And so it's not at all surprising to me that he created a bunch of benchmark workouts as like, the in-house CrossFit Games. But um,
I think it's like hindsight with Castro is really fucking annoying, because it's like, oh, that's why he was sharing all those Fran times like for like a
yeah, yeah,
week.
yeah, yeah. No, exactly. Yeah. So I think, and so we kind of take that same approach with our training. And Reza programs for the NCR program. He writes all the core programming for our gym and the other gyms that subscribe to our workouts. And, Paul and I edit it as needed, which very rarely needs tons of editing. It's pretty much the way Reza writes it. It's solid, and um, there's always benchmark variations in there, or there's classic combinations with slight
Mm.
twists, right? And so, in the past couple of months, I've done like 3 versions of Fran. I've
Mm.
done heavy Fran, I've done Fran with burpees, I did Fran twice, Fran frontwards, rest 5 minutes, Fran's backwards. I did heavy Diane, I did strict, I did it with 225, I did double the reps, I did Nancy with 10 reps at 185 and a 400-meter run. I did Nancy with a 225 with 5 reps. Like, so just it's never a bad idea to just stick to those, if you're training for the games, to stick to the core values of CrossFit and not try to get like overly fancy.
Mm.
um
It's interesting that you said earlier on that you need someone that's going to coach like a bit of darkness to really, you know, force you out of your comfort zone and force you to
yeah,
work like that list of workouts you just said is just like, oh fuck off, Reza, I'm not doing that
yeah,
one. Like,
no, exactly, especially for me, like this, I'm so bad at sprints. Like traditionally, anything that's like 5 minutes and less, I'm not good at those workouts. So, and maybe I'm measuring myself against Paul, so that's why I think I'm bad, and he's like one of the best in the world at those time domains. So
yeah.
um so yeah, so a lot, luckily, classic CrossFit, I guess what you would call it, is easily accessible within the gym, and that's what I suck at the same time. It's really fun, right? It's fun
Yeah.
doing the classic movements. Like that's what people fell in love with CrossFit for. It's like they do those classic combinations, the complementary movement schemes that let you
Yeah.
just rip it in 5 minutes and less. It's like a full sprint from start to finish. Um, so we've been doing a lot of that stuff, but yeah, it's I'm really excited to see what Dave pulls out at the ranch.
I think, like, I genuinely think he might kill someone.
It's gonna be really cool. It's gonna be cool. And he said, he said in one a recent interview, who is he? Oh, he was Talking Elite Fitness. He was on Talking Elite Fitness recently, and he said that there were some themes that kind of carry over from
Yeah.
these at-home games to what we'll see at the ranch. Um, and I think we're just going to look at it and we're going to be like, okay, that's classic CrossFit with
Yeah.
a bunch of hill climbs and some farmers stuff.
Yeah. Or harken it back to like the old games, like the original.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he always says know your history, right? Like if you, Dave's always saying he loves history. He loves CrossFit history. If you know your history and you've tested variations of previous games workouts or back in the day old open workouts and stuff, then at least if you do those once, you're exposed to potentially what you could see in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was your weekend like then? Is it like one of those things that you're like, geez, if someone's telling you, oh, remember this bit? You're like, no. Like, was it a blur or can you remember?
You mean the games that just happened?
Yeah.
Um, oh no, I remember everything. I remember everything. It kind of happened in slow motion.
Yeah.
It's like for me, it's like time slows down a little bit when I'm so focused on something like that. Um, it was cool, like I said before, because your friends and family, like they're
Mm.
all there, and that's a unique scenario. We had to sell tickets because COVID limits how many people could come in the gym and stuff.
Yeah.
So we limited like that, but just to have a few people come and cheer you on, it was a really really cool experience. And I mean, I could tell you every minute of every workout exactly what I was feeling. It's very, very clear in my head. Yeah.
Were you like checking the leaderboard or did you care? Like, were you just kind of like, because I know some people
I
check
like,
it non-stop and
I
some people
like to
don't.
know. I like to know who's on the leader, like where I am.
Yeah.
Um, it definitely motivates. It helps motivate me. I couldn't check it for a bit because of the time difference. We had to wait until like halfway through the first day to get an update from the first few events,
Hmm.
which was a little bit weird. But yeah, like it was, I knew I did poorly in that first workout. Like I hit a wall. I told myself, and I told someone in an interview for like morning checkup, I was like, they're like, what are your goals? I was like, top 5. Isn't that the goal for everyone? Like everyone's
Yeah.
top 5. And so, my mindset's like, in any competition, I want to win. So I'm going to do what I think needs to be done in order to make that happen. And, I knew that Fran had to be done very fast. Maybe I made the mistake of watching Paul do the workout the day before, and I didn't get like a perfect sense of maybe like how a normal human does it. And so he goes nearly unbroken on the whole thing, breaks up the last set of pull-ups in a few sets, and puts up a really good time. So I'm like, okay, like I've been training for the games, like I'm gonna go unbroken, like I'm going unbroken. So I did the whole thing unbroken until the very last thruster, the very last set, and I failed my last thruster. I never failed a thruster at 115 in my life. I couldn't
Yeah.
press it over my head. It came up halfway and it stopped, and it came crashing down. And then at that point, my body just completely shut down. I was at that point, I was probably around like the 4-minute mark,
Yeah.
and it took me over 90 seconds to do the last 21 pull-ups. I was doing them in 2s and 3s.
Yeah.
Like it was a shock to the system. So I knew I was dead last. I was like, I'm going to be last in that workout, and it was going to be a climb from there. So regardless of what the leaderboard said, I knew that I was going to be, it was going to be a battle from after that first workout. And I'm glad I climbed up one spot. I
Yeah.
finished in 29th because I was like, I just want to be one person.
And did you like, because say, I know I've done workouts in the past, even in the open and stuff, like you might say, even in Ireland, you do a workout and like, I'm like, forget about it. I'm not even going to be anywhere near anyone. But like, I'm always like, I'd look at my own score and be like, yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. And then you see someone else, you're like, what the fuck? Like, did
Oh
you
yeah,
have those moments looking at, say, Fraser's times for some stuff?
100%. Well, look, like Diane and Fran, he basically cut my time in half. Like what? Like excuse me, excuse me. What the hell is going on, man? So, I knew I had a slow time for Fran. But yeah, that's like what he pulls. That guy managed to pull off, man, is absurd. It's like
Mm.
otherworldly. But I mean, that doesn't make me any less proud of my own performance. Like I feel
Yeah,
really
yeah.
good about the way the weekend went, and usually, I look at my score and it's hard to tell, like especially when you're up against like such fit people and you've never really measured yourself against those people before. Like when I measure myself on a regular basis against my training partners, then I know, based on my time, I know how well or poorly I did in the workout. But when you're in sort of an unknown scenario and you're measuring yourself against others, it's hard to go by the time or the placing, because you don't know what they're going to do, right? You never competed against these people. You never trained with them before. And so you have to go off of like effort. You got to go off of like game plan execution and the effort level. Like, did you give everything you had? And I think I did. So I was happy with my performances, despite most of them being towards the bottom, but yeah.
I mean, the bottom of the top, like the bottom. You gotta put it into context.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No. And like, yeah, it was just an honor to like competing against those people, man. Like it was really, really cool. I messaged all of them afterwards, and I told them, I was like, that was the coolest thing ever. Like it was an honor competing against you guys, just to be able to measure yourself against these extremely fit human beings is a really, really cool thing.
Yeah. Plus you got your fucking massive box from Reebok as well. That's cool.
That's cool. Yeah, that's a plus. That's a plus. I don't know if I'm gonna walk around the gym though wearing Shaw on the back. Like some of the stuff's a little bit. Maybe I'll put it in a frame or something like that. The shoes are cool.
Yeah. Have you like a personal highlight then from the weekend? Is there anything that really stands out?
The first workout, man. The first workout. That was the highlight, because I've never pushed myself in a workout like that in my entire life. Like that
Did anybody say afterwards, like, like, what were you doing? Like, if you like,
no, everyone was just like, everyone said exactly what I just said. They're like, Pete, I've never seen you go that hard before. Like that was inspiring. And that's like, that was cool, because that's why I do it, right? Like I don't like, I have a competitive drive, and that's part of the reason I compete. But like the reality is that any active athlete, they have a short competition window relative to like their entire lifespan.
Yeah.
And so so I always ask myself, like, am I competing for the right reasons? If I'm going to do another season, why am I competing? And the main reason that I compete is because I want to inspire others by walking the walk, right?
Yeah.
I preach all these things at the level 1. I preach to my athletes at my gym to try to be the best they can be, and to push themselves in their workouts to do that, And so if I can go out and show them like the benefit of competing, like at any level, right? Because everyone gets nervous, right? No matter what level you're at, you go to a workout and you're nervous. Use those nerves to your advantage, and like push yourself, and try and see if you can take yourself to a level you've never explored before. And like I did that on the first workout. Like my body completely shut down, and I've never had that happen. I've literally never had that happen before. And there's only one other time that I threw up after a workout, and it was because I came back after a holiday of like drinking, like half hungover while I did the workout. so yeah, that was definitely the coolest memory. Yeah.
Like you've talked about optimism a lot there, and like like being optimistic and trying to take positives that might come and stuff. You mentioned Eric as well. Like, have you spoken to him as like a member of the CrossFit staff? And like, what, I suppose, speaking of optimism, like, what are your hopes for what might be yet to come?
Yeah, I had one phone conversation with him like very early on in the transition, when he started, before he was even like CEO or anything, and texted a bit with them. But where I got the most information was some of his addresses to the company and stuff. And like, I'm super optimistic with the direction CrossFit's heading. It's very, very cool to see, the vision that he has. 1, 2, like the resources that this guy has are they're one of someone outside the CrossFit world, which is not outside the CrossFit world. I shouldn't say that, because he owns a gym. He's very immersed in CrossFit, but just in terms of business, he's a very successful business person outside the CrossFit world.
Yeah.
And bringing that success to CrossFit and just having a different view on how to grow the company. I think it's interesting, and it's going to be really cool. Like with the guidance of a lot of the top level employees staying in CrossFit and with CrossFit, so that they can bounce ideas off of each other, and he can sort of learn what it is that makes CrossFit what it is,
Yeah.
and continue to drive it in the same direction with just a little bit more, a little bit of a different viewpoint, maybe that business mindset. I think he can't go anywhere from up, to be honest. And he's a super nice guy. He's a really good communicator. He listens to what everyone has to say. He's very open in his communication with people, and he loves hearing different opinions. Obviously he's a smart guy, so he's not gonna take everyone's opinion and agree with it, but he listens, and he's always open to different ideas. So it's really cool.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, look, we'll finish with a quick fire.
Yeah.
So cardio or lifting? So it's a quick fire.
Neither. Both.
Yeah. Oh, I'm guessing you like cardio, but need to work on your lifting. That seems to be
Exactly. But I also like lifting because I like working on my weaknesses.
You're probably more viewed for progression as well. You can see like the numbers will climb more than your long distance run or whatever.
I like to sweat. So like right now I'm craving going to the gym and just doing like 40-minute EMOM.
Yeah. Are you back training yet?
Today will be my first day. I haven't gone yet. I'm gonna go this evening. Gonna go join the class.
I assume like gentle.
It's friendly Fran.
Fuck's sake.
Today this week we're programming the games workouts. So I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go redo them all.
I assume not to like the same intensity. You're not gonna be like.
It's impossible to recreate that. It's impossible. But with a little bit of luck and a better game plan, I think I could actually best my time, because the last 21 pull-ups, they shouldn't take 90 seconds. So I think I might be able to squeak out a little bit of time there.
Yeah, put it up if you do. That'd be fun.
I will.
Okay, skiing or skipping?
Skiing.
Bike or row?
Row.
Deadlift or bench?
Dead.
Snatch or clean?
Snatch.
I nearly made up a new movement there. Sneen. Best piece of equipment you own?
Best piece of equipment I own, pull-up bar.
What three males will stand on the podium in the Aromas?
Matt Fraser, Jeff Adler, Justin Medeiros.
Oh, I fucking love Justin, man.
Yeah.
I fucking love him. He is the most fucking positive person I think I've ever spoken to.
He's cool, man. He's so cool. Yeah,
he's good. And he's so young as well. Jeez, he is a huge future.
The future.
Yeah. I think I might know the answer to this based on what you just said, but worst workout you've ever done?
Friendly friends. Yeah, that's
enjoy it later. What three females will stand on the podium then?
Tiatumi. We're gonna go with I think Catherine's gonna get back on the podium, and Haley Adams.
Yeah, another
is gonna round it out.
Similar to Justin, I think the future there is that's your new Matt and Tia, probably.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I always hate saying shit like that though, because it sounds like that they're like, I think someone was it Chase Ingram or someone, or maybe it's Tommy Marquez said that we need to stop saying that Tia is just a female Matt, like that they're, like that the comparisons aren't healthy and stuff. And then I always start thinking of that then when it's like, oh, Justin Medeiros is going to take over Matt Fraser. And it's like, oh, that makes it just sounds like he's not his own person, like that he just has to live up to that all the time.
Yeah. Dude, how can you not be your own person with a mullet like that?
Yeah. He's confident. I'll give him that.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, listen, thanks a million for coming on. I hope we're having a similar conversation next year where you've been in Madison and got to enjoy it, got to reap the rewards fully. Congrats on last weekend. It was great. Like it's a great story, I think, to go from, regionals and almost being there and then judging it and then getting back. I think that's pretty cool. And God fucking help you doing Friendly Fran again.
Well, thanks a lot, man. Thanks for having me. And yeah, hopefully I can make it happen, and we'll have a follow-up podcast part 2.